What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Art Shack. So I thought that it was about that time again where I get another real-time series going here. So this one is going to be spring-related. I thought it would make sense, seeing that spring is right around the corner here. So this one, it's going to be of like a spring meadow scene with a little bit of a stream running through it, something like that. But before I get into it, I want to explain what I have on my page here. I have a little bit of a grid set up. Now this grid is going to allow me to be able to accurately place objects and size the objects better. And it's also going to help with composition, different things like that. So this page here, I believe, let me grab the ruler, it is about 6 and... Now, of course, everyone that's not in the U.S. will be like, huh? You know, what measurement that is that? It's 6 1/4 inches by 10 inches, this paper. So, these lines, this line here, going horizontal here, is at 3.5 inches down from the top. And I have 3 boxes, or 3 lines, 4 boxes. This one is at 2.5, this one's at 5 inches, and this one's at 7.5 inches going across. So this is just going to help me to place out objects a little bit better. This is going to be my horizon line, which, will be my horizon, of course. But it'll just help to overall place the general objects on the page. Alright, so I'm going to get going here by starting off with, this is like a little embankment here. Let me get the camera, way too much. Alright, zoom in a little bit. So, I know when I was first trying to draw this, I was having a little bit of trouble. And I'm like, there has to be a method of which I could draw this easier. And I started looking around, and I've heard of people using like a grid method, but it seemed way too complicated. But then, I was like, what? I'm in control of what is going on here, so I'm going to do the grid method the way that I think will work. So I was in Photoshop and just started messing around with some of the rulers in there. Started placing them in significant areas, the horizon line being one, and just putting one, boxes like the way they are, just to get the overall placement. And it really helped with seeing where everything was really lining up and being placed. So here is like a little dirt embankment sort of deal going on here. One of those terms. So this is all going to be rough sketchwork. I'm doing this a little bit darker so that everyone can see what I'm doing on camera. I'm doing this, with a pencil that's way too dark. Apparently I was doing it with a 4B. Let's not do that. I just picked up an HB. That's what I was initially going for. I picked up the wrong one. Alright, so here's an HB. Because these lines are really dark. Also, I want to note that when you are drawing in these guidelines, I did it with a 2H pencil, but if you're doing it with an HB pencil or something like that, just make sure you do it lightly. That way, with the finished product, you can erase it out, so that way it's not, you don't see those residual lines. It has a nice clean look. With a 2H done lightly, you can erase it out really easily, so it's not a big deal at all. Alright, so this right here is the start to a tree. I'm going to draw it in roughly, something like that. So we got a root coming down over here, another root coming in, something like that. Now, of course, without shading, it looks weird. It just looks like something's coming out of the tree. But when you put some shading onto it, it'll fix it up real quick. Alright, so let's get this tree. It's a little crooked. And it's a little bit thicker. Alright, so something like that. Make the tree a little bit narrower. So the grid is really going to help you with the size and overall directions of the objects within the drawing. It really helps you out. So I'm going to have a tree branch. This tree branch really extends, then comes all the way out past the middle line. And out here I'll just have the branches kind of flutter about. And I'll draw the second line here to finish off the branch. Now just keep in mind that I will be drawing leaves on these trees later on. So this is just the skeleton of the tree, if you will, if you want to call it that. Just the underworkings of it, so that you can kind of get the idea of what's going on. Just kind of help you out. But you can draw this part of the tree however you like. This is just kind of the traditional way that I'm used to doing it. But again, there's going to be leaves all over this, so you're not going to really be able to see too much of what's going on once you start getting some of the leaves going. Oh, I was drawing off camera. Sorry about that. Let me zoom back out a little bit here. Alright, so I didn't get too much done, so I'll just kind of go over quickly what I just did. I drew this line coming up all the way up to here, and then brought it down and just kind of drew some branches kind of coming out of it. So, but like I said, the overall shape is not the biggest deal right now, because you're going to draw leaves all over this thing anyway. So this is just kind of getting the mood set for how the tree's going to look. So this tree is going to continue up. I'm going to have a slight overall curve to this tree as it works its way up. And then let's have a nice branch that works its way and kind of just comes right back down again. And then I'll finish off this branch. And we can even have it coming right off the page if we want. We can have a branch coming like that. And we'll bring up the rest of this tree. Let's actually give this a little bit of a rounded, something like that. And this branch, what I like to do is carry this line over a bit, but keep this line a part of the main trunk here. See, this line coming over past this line will make it seem like it's coming out of the middle of the tree. See what I just did there? It makes the tree look a little bit more dynamic. We'll give this a nice curve. Have it continue its way up. And we'll draw a bit more of a tree branch going on here. And you can pretty much do whatever you like with the tree. I'll have another branch coming right around here. And this tree is going to be the closest one to the foreground. I just wanted to get the overall placement of it done. That way I can work out the other objects that are around it. See, this branch deciphers the height of a lot of the other trees in the background. So that's an important element to add in. But see how I didn't really detail it too much? I just kind of did a quick rundown of the overall workings and details of it. So it's not really entirely important right now, because by the time I want to get this thing detailed, it might be a bit of a mess. So we'll see how it goes. So I mean, you can go crazy with the tree and just add in branches and things like that. But let's get moving here. Get to something else. So, like I said, this whole background here is going to be essentially the horizon line. And closer to the middle here, it's going to start to wind down a little bit. And I'm going to have this little path coming through right here. Something like that. And then there's this hill that works its way up. You know, gradual hill. Something like that. So if you can draw something like this line here is about an inch, 3/4 of an inch. Drawing off camera again. This line here is about 3/4 of an inch above the center line, and then you bring that down. It'll intersect with this cross here. You bring it down a little bit, maybe about a 1/2 inch below this line here, and then you bring it right back up to the horizon line again. If you get something like that, you'll be okay. And from this line, from where it dips down, this is where some things are going to start happening. Actually, this line, I can give myself a little more space. I'm looking at my reference, and you can see where the lines are going easily because I have the same grid on this other drawing. Alright, so what this is, it's going to be like a little path that comes around something like this. And here's a little embankment. So I'm going to have a little stream flowing through right here. Let me start to get that in the works. So from right about here, keep in mind, see this line here? This one only, this is actually a little patch of grass that's going to be hovering over top of the little dirt embankment like I was talking about before. So from here, there's a line that starts to work out from right about here. Bring this out about an inch or so, a little more than that, and then you can work it back up. Get a little embankment there. And a little bit above that we'll bring out another line, and this one, give it a slight curve to it, not too much, something just like that. And then from here I'll indicate with some lines that this area is like a little valley. It works its way down and then it comes back up over here again. So I want to follow this line formation here. And on this little mound here, that's where one of my trees is going to start coming up. It'll end about here. So I'll draw that tree in a minute. But I'm going to get this one. This line comes down a bit and works its way out in the water. And there's little grassy things on this. So I just want to kind of indicate that so that I know later on what it is. And then this comes in, comes out, goes back in, comes out again, and then goes back in again. And there's going to be a slight waterfall happening over here. And there's a little bit of like a rocky formation over here. Let me bring this out a little bit more. I'm just comparing everything with the grid that I have. There's a few errors that I have, but I can fix those. This one is going to come out further. Just need to sharpen the pencil a little bit here. Alright. So this one is going to... Let me erase this a little bit. So the placement of this is a little bit off, but I'll fix that. So we have this working its way out, and this comes about like that. Alright, so there's a little mound going on here. And then this comes back, comes out a little bit again, and then this shape comes all the way back in like that. Now we're back on track. See, not a huge difference, but it's just the overall placement that will help. And this all, so I'm doing too much sketching. I'm getting lost within what I'm doing. This is all going to be rocky type formations. This line here, there's going to be a slight waterfall, very slight. It's going to be like a little ripple of a waterfall. And I'm going to put in a rock right there. You could put in a few rocks over here. There's going to be something there. And then over here is going to be that path that I started drawing. Now this one I can just create like a dirt path, something like that. And then as it gets towards the bend over here, it's going to get much narrower, and it's going to take the line work of what I did back here. So it's going to be something like that. Actually, it's a little bit too far. Let me work this out a little bit better. Because this path is only supposed to be within this box. I would highly recommend that while any of you are following me with this, just to look back at a reference or something, like every 5 minutes, not every 5 minutes, every 5 seconds rather. It helps to keep familiarizing yourself with what is on the page, and in turn you get a much more accurate result from the drawing. For the most part. It definitely does help. This line work, I'm telling you, sometimes the sketch work is the difficult part of the drawing. Once you have everything placed properly, it becomes a lot easier. Alright. I'm gonna bring this path up over here instead of back there. Alright. I don't want to get myself too caught up in that. But just for the general idea, you have a little path coming through, something like that. And I'm going to indicate with a few lines. There's a little hill, not even a hill, it's just a slight pile of dirt, I guess you could call it. It kind of comes in and then goes back up again. Something like that. And then over here, and then eventually all this just goes straight up. See how the lines tend to indicate how the land formation works? So all this is really far background, and all this is really close in the front. Alright, so let's zoom out a little bit. There we go, now we can see the whole thing. Alright, so let's draw in some of the background trees. Now for this, all I'm going to do is just kind of do something like this. I'm going to alternate the heights of my line work here. So bring one like that. Notice I'm using my pencil on the side here. I'm getting a broad amount of the graphite on the page, so it's going to really lay down some thick line work. And we can have some shorter trees. Bring them all the way down into here. Alright, just keep on doing the same thing all the way across. What this will be is all the background trees. So you want to indicate them, but at the same point, you don't want to put so much detail into them, because they're really far away. So something that's really far away, you're going to have a hard time telling what the detail of it would be anyway. So this, I find, is just a much more easier and effective way of doing that. Alright, then once you have that, you can grab a blending stump. If you don't have one of these, you can grab a Q-tip or something like that. Start blending in a circular manner, and as you get towards the top, you can really start to blend these around. I'm going to switch blending stumps. This one works a little bit better. There we go. This one's a bit softer. Actually, using a Q-tip for this might work really well. You want a real soft blending stump to really get these tones nicely. When you get towards the top, you can start to spread out those blend marks a little bit. But don't blend this so hard that you can't see any of the pencil detail anymore. You still want to be able to see some of those pencil marks. Those will look like the trunks of the trees and different branches moving out here and there. So you can be relatively quick with this. And I know it's not too much, but it'll really start to bring out the mood of this drawing. Alright, and just quickly do the rest of that. And just like that, you have some background trees. Alright, and so to finish this off, I'm going to quickly draw in the finishing trees that are within the drawing. So I have this line here indicating when that tree is going to reach the top. So this tree comes all the way up to about there. Bring the trunk up and have it end about there. So from here, have all the different branches working. And this tree as well will have all the leaves and different things going to it. And this one also has some large bushes in and around the base of this. So I'm just going to do that by indicating some lines, something like that. This is all sketch work anyway, so this is just the initial plannings of the drawing. Then we have another tree working its way up here. I'll do the same thing. What these lines also help you to do is make sure that the objects that you're placing in are straight, especially the trees. Trees will, and other plants will usually tend to grow towards a light source, which they'll result in growing mostly straight up. So you just want to keep that in mind. So we got a tree there, and there are a few trees that are just kind of chilling over here. These trees are going to be behind this tree here. So I don't want to do too much with these. We'll have another tree coming up. And just do some quick line work for the branches and things like that. And depending upon how things go, we might add another tree or two, but as of right now, this is the general sketch and concept of the spring meadow. So I will leave you all off with that. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I want to thank you all very much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you all next time with part 2. I'll see you all later, everyone. Take care.